Our next question is coming from Emmett in Cedar City, who's wondering how we can get results in the Senate. So Emmett, you're on the line.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled with many of the other comments of callers on key issues, like Benghazi and Obamacare and recess appointments. There's just a great frustration out there of all of these issues, and we're all frustrated because we feel helpless on being able to get them done. So, but at any rate, I think the key issue is just to lead into something. What's the next step on Obamacare? What's the next step on trying to get our spending problem in line?
Okay. So the next step with regard to Obamacare will involve this series, this trickle of Republican proposals to move forward. We've started with my Saving the American Dream plan in the last Congress. We've got the Republican Study Committee plan in the House. We've got Paul Ryan's plan coming later on this year in the House. There will be several other plans. These plans will be coming forward just as Obamacare continues to prove itself up to be the fatal disaster that it is. A lot of that will be happening just at the time when the 2014 election cycle kicks into full gear. And I think there is some possibility that as Americans continue to cry out to Congress for help on this, that we could move forward. As far as the spending picture, Emmett, this is a difficult time for our country. This bill right here, this 1,500-page bill, that spends $1.1 trillion and that we've had only 48 hours to read, does not do anything aggressive to curb spending. In fact, it spends more than we've spent in the past. It spends more on all sorts of programs. It continues to fund a lot of programs that are redundant. It continues to fund other programs that are wasteful. It continues to fund some programs that are downright offensive. And so if we want Congress to stop spending so much money, we've got to stop electing people who want to do so many things with the federal government. This is a big problem that we've got because we've got members of Congress who are so focused on staying in office forever that they will continue to fund any and every program that they can have access to. Because at the end of the day, for them, it just makes them feel happy. It gives them a chance to brag to their constituents that they're spending a whole lot of money. But the problem is that money isn't free, that money isn't theirs, that money belongs to yours. And ultimately that money ends up coming out of the pockets of hardworking men and women. It ends up disproportionately affecting the poor and the middle class in America. Now, it's important to remember that some people complain a lot about conflict. We get a lot of calls into the office, some of which say, make sure you compromise. Compromise anywhere you can. Compromise in a box or with a fox, in the rain or on a train. Compromise anywhere and everywhere. And then another group of calls that will say, don't ever compromise. Compromise is terrible. We don't want you to compromise. As I see it, in some respects, both sets of calls somewhat miss the point. Compromise isn't an outcome. It's not a substantive end in and of itself. Compromise is an inevitability in the legislative process. The more important question to ask is where and how we compromise. And where and how and in what way will we consider ourselves beyond compromise. So much of what happens here is the product not of compromise but of collusion, where both parties will come together and decide to spend in a way that is actually harmful to hardworking Americans so that they can benefit themselves, so that they can ensure their longevity in office. We didn't get to be $17 trillion in debt without a lot of collusion between a lot of people on both sides of the Capitol and on both sides of the aisle in both political parties. What we need is for men and women of both political parties to recognize that this collusion has got to stop, to recognize that in order to create and rekindle the sort of economic opportunity society that have made America great, we have got to stop spending 25 cents out of every dollar that moves through the American economy.